Activity-based language learning. The module, consisting of 5 major topics, aims to define the nature, scope, purpose, and structure of tasks and activities in English language learning. It will enable the learners to set goals for tasks and activities and help them devise group formations and aspects related to them. Moreover, teamwork and its significance, characteristic features, and goals have also been explained. Further, this module intends to explore current pedagogical practices, methods, and techniques of incorporating designed tasks and activities to learn English in context. Activity-based learning. While learning English in the language classroom, you must have experienced various kinds of tasks and activities which were incorporated by your English teachers to make the learning process more interactive and effective. Moreover, teachers used tasks and activities as learning tools for multiple purposes. According to Geert, classroom tasks and activities are seen as the environment or ecosystem in which the growth of skills in the foreign language takes place. Noonan defines a task as a piece of classroom work that involves learners comprehending, manipulating, producing, or interacting in the target language while their attention is principally focused on meaning rather than on form. By including tasks in the target language, the facilitator aims to provide a purpose for language use rather than simply learning the language items without context. The task's inclusion promotes a naturalistic language acquisition process in a communicative language learning context. Further, Kumara Vadivelu discussed 3 persistent features of tasks. The first one, task consists of specific goals or outcomes concerning any language function. Second, some input data can be provided as a scaffolding strategy. And the third, one or more related activities or procedures for practice. An activity is defined by as a procedure where the learner is activated in some kind of task that induces him or her to engage with the target language items in a meaningful way, whereas Scrivener tried to narrow its approach by minimizing the teacher's role and described the activity as something that learners do that involves them using or working with language to achieve some specific outcome. Difference between tasks and activities. The definitions given above by some of the prominent ELT practitioners make it evident that both tasks and activities are different in nature and purpose. Let us try to understand these differences with the help of some more definitions. Jack C. Richards differentiates these two concepts in the following manner. A task is something undergone by students using pre-existing or scaffolded language resources, whereas an activity describes any procedure in which learners work towards a goal such as plays, games, or discussions. For differentiating tasks from activities, defined tasks as a component of an activity's design, the objective that learners are required to attain when assigned an activity. In other words, a task can be considered one of the target language situations in a classroom where the focus is on attaining the task objective through learners' involvement. Responding to the difference between tasks and activities, Jack C. Richards described tasks as something that learners do or carry out using their existing language resources or those that have been provided in pre-task work that has an outcome which is not simply linked to learning language, though language acquisition may occur as the learner carries out the task. He also pointed out that tasks are relevant to learners' needs and involve a focus on meaning. However, he termed activity as more general and refers to any kind of purposeful classroom procedure that involves learners doing something that relates to the goals of the course. Activities in the classroom can be conducted through songs, games, discussion, debate, role play, or any other group work. Here is a tabular representation of differences between tasks and activities. The criteria are meaning, purpose, action required, attention required, time required, and focus. When it comes to task, the meaning is a work that needs to be done, while activity is an action taking place. For the purpose, task has been defined as designed and incorporated with specified objective or objectives, while an activity will have an objective that may not be specified. Action required for task, the focus is on the outcome or product. For an activity, focus is on the task outcome or process. Attention required for a task, highly focused, while for an activity, comparatively less focused. Time required for a task is specified. For an activity, time is not necessarily specified. Focus. The focus is on achieving the task objectives and task completion. For an activity, the focus here is on gaining more practice and involvement. Characteristics of activities. Language learning activities are used to promote learning through the active involvement of the learners. It provides a platform for them to get adequate practice to perform well in real-life situations. Activities for language learning are either designed by the teachers or adopted according to the aims and objectives of the tasks given in the course. Therefore, teachers need to be aware of the characteristic features of activities. Some of the characteristic features are alignment with the course or task objective, focus on the learning outcome, appropriate to the level of learners, specified target language skills, designed developmental process, learners' active engagement, suitable to the needs of diverse learning styles, proper monitoring system, continuous assessment of learners' performance, and active role of teachers and learners. Scope and purpose of activities. For a task, not usually restrictive, non-linguistic outcome. For an exercise, restrictive, focus on a single language element, and a linguistic outcome. For an activity, restrictive, focus on one or two language items, and communicative outcome. The purpose of activities is to create a conducive environment for learners to engage themselves and participate actively in the language functions used in real-life situations. Activities play an effective role in learning English by providing students with motivation and opportunities to practice the English language. Since language learning activities are designed in alignment with the course curriculum, the scope is targeted to achieve the course learning outcomes. Harmer's description includes the following criteria that a communicative activity should have: an identifiable communicative purpose, give learners a desire to communicate, and require a focus on content rather than form. Role of activities in English language learning. Since the primary role of learning activities is to create a condition where learners get an opportunity to use language in the classroom to develop communication skills, activities significantly play additional roles in the language learning process. They aid learners in using language for multiple purposes, in analyzing language for effective use, in identifying, analyzing, and correcting the errors made by self and others, in developing language competence covering all skills, in language performance, and in developing communication skills. Types of activities. Although an extensive range of activities can promote active learning, all activities do not necessarily focus on achieving the learning outcomes instantly. Activities are designed and used for various purposes and mostly depend upon the aims and objectives of the tasks. Therefore, the activities you choose to use must be appropriate for the goal to be attained. Based on the purpose, activities can be categorized into various forms such as warm-up activities, fun activities, practice activities, individual activities, pair activities, group activities, and games. Types of activities for language learning. Let us try to understand these activities and their purposeful use in the language classroom. Warm-up activity. This type of activity is used to prepare the learners for a language task in the language classroom. They are generally used to motivate the students and introduce the topic to be discussed in the class. They spark curiosity among the students, and a state of readiness is achieved by the facilitator, asking for predictions starting with an image or a video, personalizing, analyzing a graph or a map are warm-up activities. Fun activity. This type of activity is used in the English classroom to get the learners' attention by engaging them in exciting exercises. They create interest among the language learners to use English through interaction and enjoyment. Storytelling, arts and craft session, mime, icebreakers are fun activities. Practice activity. Practice activities aim to create situations where learners can practice and show their understanding of the topics that they have already learned in the classroom. They are incorporated into the English classroom to give extensive practice focusing on a specific real-life situation that may be dealt with in real time. Either or, multiple choice, correct incorrect, true false, gap fill, cloze exercises, crossword puzzle, finish the sentence, find the error, change form, identify, picture labeling, reword, matching are common practice activities. Individual activity. Individual activities are activities that may be completed or executed by an individual. This type of activity may not require any interaction or discussion with others. For example, writing a self-reflective article, sharing experiences, etc. Pair activity. The teacher incorporates this type of activity in the English classroom, which demands at least two individuals to work together. In this learning situation, two learners are responsible for completing an activity. Both take turns or work simultaneously for the work to be completed. For example, role plays and mock interviews. Group activity. Group activities are one of the most interesting activities that are used in the classroom for effective language use. They require many learners to complete a language function in association with each other. They need several skills from the learners to attain the objective of a language task. For example, group discussions, skits, etc. Games. Games are also an interesting form of activity that English teachers use extensively in the classroom as a warm up activity. However, they can also be used to prepare learners for a discussion or explanation of the topic in a particular session. Moreover, they help create a friendly, interactive, and interesting environment before beginning an actual task. Examples include puzzles, Pictionary, prediction games, board games, etc.